I started drinking at 6 a.m. We're here now. I don't know what time it is, but I'm rolling deep.
Hello and welcome to the 2026 Kentucky Derby Seminar presented by the Auxiliary Gate Podcast. I'm CC Broaddus and I'm joined by our panel of pundits, including the man who picked Mystic Dan to win the 2024 Kentucky Derby at 17-1, value man himself, Alan Schneider. In addition, our boots on the ground, the man who picked the 2025 Kentucky Derby winner Sovereignty at 7-1, the bearded wonder, Geoff. It's time to start, so without further ado, and no pun intended, here is the 2026 Kentucky Derby Seminar. Number 1 is the morning line favorite Renegade from the Todd Pletcher barn, co-owned by the Rapoli stable, and will be ridden by Arad Ortiz Jr. Renegade comes off a facile tally in the Arkansas Derby 5 weeks ago.
Renegade looked amazing, just amazing when the Arkansas Derby. He was everyone's top pick, everyone's horse to watch just a few weeks ago, and he still is. But there's these rumblings. There's these rumblings that they don't address on air that maybe something's off on him. Maybe something's not right. He didn't get into the racetrack until this week, but that part of that's by design because Rapoli and Pletcher have been burned by the vets here, so they're trying to keep the horse away as long as possible. It's led to some whispers. I'm not on the backside, so I don't know. I know the horse has not worked over the surface yet, but again, it could be by design. If he's right, he's as good as anybody in the field. The rail post doesn't kill me because Irad rides the rail extremely well, and his running style would not be a huge detriment at that post, in my opinion, if the field gets strung out. But big chance. There's just some whispers about him, and with that said, I'll hand it off to Geoff. Maybe he knows a little bit more about Renegade than I do up close.
Yeah, no, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there, Alan. As you know, I have been really high on Renegade for a while now, and going into Derby season, I fully expected him to be my top pick in the race. And as you said, there's just been a couple things that make you pause on a favorite. Drawing the rail one, I was there at the draw, and I'll tell you, there was an audible gasp when that was announced. Post one Renegade. I mean, people were in shock up there at the post position draw. And as you said, I don't think it hurts him as bad as if he was a forward type. I think as long as he doesn't just get completely sawed off, he'll be okay and be able to save some ground into the first turn. Might not be a bad thing. And also remember now that they do not use the auxiliary gate. See what I did there?
Ching ching.
With this new gate, there is more room there on the rail, so I don't think it's as detrimental. I think the one post will be a lot more successful in these coming years than we've seen recently. So I don't see that much as a detriment. I don't love that he's only been on the track a couple days. You know, you mentioned that how they got here right at the buzzer on Saturday.
Yeah.
As you said, there are rumblings of, you know, is there something going on with him? I don't know. I haven't heard anything definitively on that. I will say that the vets obviously go over these horses with a fine-tooth comb on the backside, and he's now made it 2 days without being scratched. So,
True.
you know, I'm not saying it won't happen as the week goes on, but I do think it's encouraging that it hasn't happened yet. And I thought he looked pretty good out on the track today when I saw him out in that 7:15 to 7:30 window. So he's definitely a contender for me. He's not one that I can leave off any of my tickets, but a little bit of an Easter egg. I am not going with him on top of the 152nd Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, he was supposed to be the prohibitive favorite, but there's enough rumblings in that rail spot. It makes me think he may not go favorite at post time, wherever. That's taking nothing. This horse, if he's right, he is as good as anybody in this field.
I worry now that Renegade is just a plain bad bet, breaking from the rail. You don't want him as the favorite if he's not even the fastest horse in the race, and I'm not certain you want him at all if he breaks from that rail post position, because I mean that's pretty much death. What will the off odds be on Renegade?
6-1. I'm in the 6-1 camp.
Yeah, I'll say 5, but I think you're right there in the range. I don't believe he'll be favored either, but I think it'll be close. I think they're probably that the top three will be pretty close. I kind of lean that Further Ado is going to be the favorite. I think there's a lot of buzz around him. As CC said, he's run the fastest figure in the race, and he has a lot of fans. So I kind of think that he's going to go off the very slight favorite, but there's going to be a few of them that are very close.
We should add that it was part of the favorites of war to Renegade a couple weeks ago. Was the fact that Irad Ortiz had pick of four horses, four prime contenders in this race, and he chose Renegade, which put him at the top of the list. Then the whisper started. So that's something to keep in mind. Irad did pick this horse over the other main contenders.
Number 2 is Albus for the Pin Oak Stud, and the first of 2 Kentucky Derby entrants for rookie trainer Riley Mott.
I think this is kind of a derby of the haves and the have-nots to me, and
Yeah.
Albus is in the have-not category for me, guys. I mean, I thought visually he looked pretty good in the wood, but as we've seen, horses coming out of New York, having one of the New York preps, just really have not done well recently. I don't think it was the strongest field. I don't love any of the horses coming out of that group. Numbers a little bit light. He's going to have to improve. I'd say he's the my second favorite of the Riley Mott horses. I don't love the draw either, the two hole.
Yeah, he's on the higher end of the have-nots in this race. You're right. There is a line of demarcation, I feel like, and I think a lot of people would agree, between have and have-nots and those middle ground horses. I believe he's at the high end of the have-nots. I think he's got a bright future ahead of him. This feels like it's a little bit too much too soon. And it wouldn't surprise me if he ran, hit the board and got into the super high five, so it wouldn't stun me. But Jaime Torres
Get
did
into your
select.
octafecta.
Yeah, yeah. Jaime Torres did select another runner over Albus in this race. So I think Albus has a nice future. He's not for me today.
He won't be on any of my tickets as well. So let's move on to number 3, Intrepido from the Jeff Mullins barn. Hector Barrios, a fine jockey, comes in to ride 50-1 on the morning line. Not an ideal preparation for this Kentucky Derby. He was off the board last time in the Santa Anita Derby and had a blistering 45-second workout on Sunday.
I have an inherent bias against a lot of California runners. You guys know that. I think there's a couple in here that could do well today. Intrepido's not one for me, but I want to say, didn't Giacomo run fourth in the Santa Anita Derby, then came here and won the Kentucky Derby? So it's not without precedent. He's not for me. Hector Barrios is a really good rider, but he's on that list of have-nots for me. But stranger things have happened.
Yeah, I agree. I think 50-1 on the morning line for a reason. He does have some decent numbers in that. Robert B. Lewis, he got an 89 buyer, which isn't bad at all. But I agree, he's kind of on that have not list. That 45 flat work on Sunday
That's as fast as
was
it gets.
about as fast as it gets. And if I don't know if you guys saw it, but Jeff Mullins was not happy about it afterwards. It was not the plan whatsoever, and he was not happy that he went that fast. So I just don't think the vibes are great for Intrepido right now. So he's not going to be on any of my tickets.
Number 4 is Litmus Test, 50-1 on the morning line for trainer Bob Baffert, jockey Martin Garcia, off an off-the-board finish in the Arkansas Derby in his last start. Once a promising 2-year-old, has not panned out for the Baffert barn.
Yeah, he had a little bit of an awkward start in the Arkansas Derby, so it's not like he had the cleanest of trips and just ran a complete dud, but I still thought he should have ran on more than that. It just kind of looks like he's going in the wrong direction, guys. He was really good out in California, and then once he moved to Oaklawn, it just really he hadn't been the same. And I know it's Baffert, and you can never really dismiss him in the Derby. But of all the horses that I like in this race, Litmus Test just doesn't crack that surface for me. I doubt he will even be in the bottom of my superfectas. What do you think, Alan?
I'm shocked I'm shocked he made the race. He really has
Yeah.
done nothing this year, to be honest with you. A horse that's kind of lived off hype and the name recognition of Bob Baffert. The fact that he has enough points actually surprised me, but he did get a few as a 2-year-old. So in the race, not for me. The Bob Baffert name does carry some weight. He may come down simply because of that. But no, he's a definite have not for me. If he wins, he wins. I tip my cap to Bob, but I don't see it at all.
Number 5, Right to Party.
I guess I'll take this one. I'll give you a few positives unrelated to the horse. Number one, I'm a fan of Kenny McPeek because he won on Mystic Dan a couple of years ago. I like that. Chris Elliott's a fine young jockey, but he also shares the name of a very talented comedic actor named Chris Elliott, so I like that. Right to Party is probably named after the Beastie Boys song from the 80s, so I like that. Anything horse related, I don't really care for. No, he did clunk up to get second in the Wood Memorial, which earns him a spot, and he deserves to be in the gate because he did do that under the rules. But I will not be using Right to Party, despite my love of the song that the horse's name comes from. I have to look the other way with him.
Yeah, he's definitely an outsider in here. I will say he's been one of my favorite horses to cover so far this week because I've been able to talk to Kenny, and Kenny's always just great to talk to in general. It's a great opportunity for Chris Elliott. I believe he just turned 20 years old, so a very young guy getting his opportunity to ride in the Kentucky Derby. Kenny did say that he's been trying to get the Beastie Boys to the
That
Derby.
awesome.
Uh, that'd be good vibes for sure. And I guess one positive for him is Right to Party's last work. Kenny's been planning out, if we're going to have a shot in here, we're going to have to hug the rail, save every single bit of ground, make a Calvin Burrell type move. So he purposely worked him inside in his last local work so that he could get used to having those horses outside of him and getting comfortable down there. And he actually worked really well. I thought it was his best work I've seen. So that is one positive that things are kind of going according to plan. Drawing the five, he should be able to save ground easily from there.
Real quick, I will say, he did make a legit run in the Wood Memorial. I mean, yes, the pace was fast, but you still have to pass horses, and he did do that. So he's getting knocked quite a bit. I mean, it was his first try going two turns, if I'm not mistaken, or going that far. So there's something to be said about that. It's a big ask, but I think Peak has done it before. He's done it in every Triple Crown race, as a matter of fact. So
Okay, let's move on to number 6, Commandment from the Brad Cox barn. Wathnen Racing campaigns this one. Of course, Wathnen Racing owns Hit Show. Hit Show won the Dubai World Cup last year. Kind of disappointed that Commandment did not draw the 10 hole. Ha ha ha. But regardless, Geoff, let's throw it over to you. Give me your thoughts on Commandment, the co-second choice at 6-1.
Do you guys think that Commandment's kind of been the forgotten favorite in this year's
absolutely,
Derby?
absolutely, without question.
Like, I feel like he was the horse maybe 2 months ago into February. Like, he was the one. Everybody was hyped up. He was going to be the big favorite in the Derby. And he's done nothing wrong since then. And it just feels like we're going to get a little float on him, I think. You were talking about float on Renegade possibly. I think Commandment might get up into that 8-9 to 1 range and surprise
Absolutely.
people, especially with the hype like Chief Wallaby's getting, the Puma, a couple of horses like that. They're going to take money. So if you give me 8-1 on Commandment, I'm going to be extremely interested. This is one horse I have zero distance concerns with whatsoever in the mischief. Out of the Orb mare, what's her name? Sipican Harbor, is that how you say it? Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I mean, he's just done absolutely nothing wrong. He's a gamer. He has a nose for the finish line. I thought the Florida Derby was better than it looks. I know that he barely got up a nose over the Puma, but he looked like he had zero shot mid-stretch. Like there was no way he was going to get there, and he just kept coming and coming and coming, and somehow got the job done. He's kind of like that in the mornings too. Brad has said he's not the flashiest of workhorses. He just kind of does what he needs to do. But he's a racehorse, and he knows where the finish line is. He's a gamer. He doesn't mind a little bit of contact. These are all very positive things for the Kentucky Derby, especially the six draw is huge too. He drew best of the who will be the favorites in my opinion. So he's who I'm leaning to right now, guys. I like Commandment quite a bit.
I don't blame you at all. I could not echo your sentiments more about being the forgotten horse because he's not as flashy. The workouts aren't as flashy. The races haven't been as flashy. But you know what is flashy? The wins he keeps stacking up. So that's at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Whether it's a nose or 20 lengths, Commandment keeps getting it done. Plus, he does have a kind of a name. He's got a bit of a help in the name department too, right? So, and I'm with you. I think he floats because the other horses are getting more publicity. He's tough. He's like a linebacker to me. He's a very tough, gritty horse who could probably fight his way through traffic. I'm saying that I'm probably not going to put him on top, but I don't blame anybody for taking that price on him. So yeah, he's a consistent, hard knocking horse. Brad Cox really does have three-headed monster, in my opinion, in this year's field. So if the couple others doesn't fire, Commandment could be right there. Look, may I add one thing real quick? When Brad Cox didn't land Alrad Ortiz on his trio of horses, he did he did a great job of getting jockeys that fit his horses. And he's got Luis Saez on this one. And Luis Saez is renowned for riding horses hard from like the 5/8 pole the whole way home, which is kind of the way this horse needs to be ridden. So Luis Saez is a perfect fit for this horse, in my opinion.
Moving right along, number 7, Dannon Bourbon, or Dannon Bourbon if you're into yogurt. Dannon Bourbon, the first of 2 Japanese shippers. I'm not even going to begin to pronounce the trainer and the rider of these 2 horses. Honestly, I don't know a whole lot about him. I know that he is 3 for 3, all races at a mile and an eighth or further. This is an American pedigree, a son of Maxfield, who was a really nice horse for Godolphin back in the day. And I know the second dam was Wild Gams, who was a very classy sprinter. So a lot of class in this one's pedigree. Alan, let's go back to you.
Uh, I can't pretend that I know a lot about the Japanese contingent. I know that he's the best of the lot. I would add that if you go through these past performances on these horses, there's a lot of horses that are bred for the off turf, the off track, I should say. Uh, but almost none of them have raced on an off track. If for some reason that it does rain on Saturday, which it's not supposed to, whereas Dan on Bourbon has not only raced twice on an off track, he's won convincingly. So I would keep that in mind if the surface is wet. Again, I'm not a Japanese expert, so I don't like speaking out of turn. So I'll throw it over to Geoff.
Well, I'm not the one to throw it to if you're looking for a Japanese horse racing expert. I will say it's been interesting because I've been able to walk the backstretch past few days with this guy named Johnny who is in from Japan and he covers Japanese racing and he writes for a publication there. And so just getting his translations of the trainers and everyone he's talking to has been really interesting. I do think that Denon Bourbon is the most well regarded of the Japanese horses this year. He's a good looking physical. I think he
Yeah,
looks really good out on the track, but he has been kind of skittish. I don't love how he's been responding to the crowds, especially with the crowd getting bigger today. Today the crowd was much bigger and he kind of just seems like he's not super comfortable. They did take him to the gates today, and it looked like both he and Wonder Dean did well in the gate, which is a positive because that can always be a different experience. But worries me a little bit that he's not doing great with the crowds. Only 3 lifetime starts, lightly raced. I think he's very talented, but he's not one I'm going to hang my hat on in the Derby this year.
no.
Sorry about that. I had to move inside. It's windy as Chicago for some reason. I think I've harped on that before. It's very windy in Kentucky. Uh, 13 months out of the year. Yeah, I'm using him underneath. I think he's got a shot. I mean, this is the type of horse you want on your try because he'll be 20 to 1, and he's got some upside. He's only ran 3 times, so why not? Why not get third? Uh, yeah, that's how I feel. Number 8. I think this horse is going to get some buzz just because of the story. I talked to a buddy of mine who knows nothing about horse racing, and he asked me about So Happy today. And of course, if you don't know the story, Mark Glatt's wife passed away to an illness a couple months ago, and So Happy goes on to win the Santa Anita Derby. Son of Run Happy out of a Blame mare. Mike Smith takes the mount. Let's go to Geoff. Talk about So Happy.
I like So Happy, guys. Only 4 lifetime races, won 3 of them. I thought the Santa Anita Derby was very visually impressive. Looked like he had more in the tank. I know being a son of Run Happy, a lot of people have distance concerns, but Blame on the bottom side, and then Super Saver was the sire of Run Happy, so Derby winner there. And So Happy, just looking at him in the flesh, he looks like a router to me. He's built like a router. He's a very confident horse too. I like him. He's very calm, cool, and collected, but he's also like a little territorial. Like he doesn't like when like people are staring him in the eye or talking to him when he's in his stall, but like when he's out, he'll like, he'll puff up and he'll kind of show off a little bit. But you talked about the whole connections and the story and everything, and I'll be using So Happy because I think he's a really nice horse, and I think he's coming into his own. I think he's coming into this race well. But this is one I think is going to get bet off of that 15-1 morning line. One, because there are legitimate handicapping reasons to like him, and two, what Alan was talking about, he's going to have a lot of fans. Like I was back there at the barn where So Happy is this morning, and we were watching him get a bath after coming off the track, and there were people that just walked up to the fence from off the street. And they were like, "Who is that?" And when we were like, "It's So Happy," they were like, "Oh my gosh, So Happy! Yay, we're going for you!" So like that, everybody loves So Happy. So all those $2 win bets, I think, are going to file in.
Yeah, I got to echo your sentiments there because a half hour ago, one of my best friends texted me about So Happy. He said, "Tell me the legit story about him," because one, he likes the name. Two, he heard the backstory, and there's gonna be a lot of people like him. And on merits, the horse won the Santa Anita Derby going away. So once again, you cannot take that away from him. And he's got Mike Smith aboard. Again, I'll try to keep my tickets fairly narrow, and I have to make decisions somewhere. It wouldn't shock me if he won, especially with Mike Smith aboard. The story is fantastic. I would absolutely, I can imagine what the winner's circle situation would be like if he did pull it off. I'm going to have to leave him off because I want to keep things fairly narrow. But it's one that you have to pull for, that you have to root for. So both the casual fans and the hardcore fans alike would appreciate seeing a win by So Happy.
Number
Agreed.
9 is the Puma, a son of essential quality, the winner of the Belmont Stakes, and trained by Gustavo Delgado, who won the 2023 Kentucky Derby with Mage. Basically the same connections here. You get Javier Castellano to ride. I believe Castellano, just from memory, has won 2 Kentucky Derbies already. The Puma, a narrow defeat in the Florida Derby. Again, echoing Mage's early move in the Florida Derby, where he had the lead in mid-stretch and was run down by Forte. Now, Forte was scratched in the 2023 Derby. Doesn't look like so far Commandment is unlikely to get to make the race. So I think the Puma still a contender. Curious to hear what you guys have to say.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but the Puma has now been at the track for about a week or so now, right? And I don't believe he's worked. He hasn't made much of an appearance on the racetrack yet. Again, that goes back to the same thing with Renegade to some extent, maybe even a little different extent. That gives me some concern. He did try to do quite a bit pretty quickly, and he was remarkably successful. Again, he was an eyelash away from winning a very competitive Florida Derby. This horse has progressed rapidly in a very short time, so take nothing away from him, but you have to look for chinks in this because it's such a well-rounded, top-heavy field that you need to find reasons to like or dislike at the top end. And because the Puma has not been on the racetrack that much and has not worked over the surface, where he got here early enough to work, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't think he's done it. And if I'm wrong, you guys tell me. That gives me a little concern. I see the absolute correlation between Mage from a couple years ago. I mean, it's almost like a carbon copy in a lot of regards. But the fact that he has been a little shy over the racetrack so far gives me concern.
Yeah, he's another one that's been a fan favorite too. Just talking to
Yes.
people on the backside, the Puma and So Happy are the two names I just keep hearing over and over again. So yeah, along with him only being a nose away from Commandment last time out in the Florida Derby, this is another price I think is going to come down from that 10-1. I honestly, guys, this might be a hot take, but I would not be shocked if the Puma was a lower price than Commandment come post
Yeah.
time. Just given the hype on him, yeah, the way that people are talking about him and just how nobody's talking about Commandment. And weird things happen in the win pool in the Kentucky Derby every year. We see horses that take a ton of money, some that don't take any money that we're shocked about just because of how big the pool is and who's in it. I like how rapidly he's improved, as Alan said, but also he only had 3 weeks between those two races, Tampa Bay Derby and the Florida Derby, and they were both really tough
Oh
races.
yeah.
So, as you said, just looking for chinks in the armor, I think that's it for me, is that he had two really tough races in a 3 week span. It seems like they knew that this was a really good horse and they wanted to get him to the Derby. And I'm not going to say that they rushed him to the Derby because they took the path that they could take, but was that his best effort in the Florida Derby? Is kind of my question. I don't know if he has another step forward this soon, but I like him overall. I'll be using him underneath, but not in the top spots.
Moving right along to number 10, Wonder Dean, the second horse from Japan, last seen winning the UAE Derby. Now he comes over here. He's a son of D Majesty, a horse I've never heard of. who is a son of Deep Impact, one of the greatest Japanese stallions of all time. Deep Impact, of course, is the son of 1989 Kentucky Derby winner Sunday Silence. Again, I'm not going to attempt to pronounce the trainer and jockey's names. I'll leave that to you guys.
Again, I don't like speaking out of turn about things that I don't know about. You'll see a lot of people on these podcasts will talk about things they shouldn't be talking about. I don't want to be one of them. I don't know a lot about the horse outside that. I think I've seen him 78 times on the Churchill Work Show when I watched it, just standing on the racetrack. I had a good friend named Dean who played for the Carolina Panthers back in the day. I went to middle school with. He passed away. That's about all I got, really. So rest in peace, Dean Wells, and I will kick it over to Geoff.
Yeah, coming in, I'd heard that he's probably the second best of the Japanese contingent behind Denon Bourbon, and I agree. I don't think the UAE Derby has historically been that strong, and especially this year. I thought our friend Joe Christofek made a good point when he was at that seminar at Mike Lenning's that we attended, that some of the would have been top contenders in that UAE Derby did not make the trip
Right,
just because of
right.
the unrest that was happening out there at the time. So I don't think it was the strongest rendition either. He did what he was supposed to do. He won. He won easily. He did well. I pretty much had totally written him off, guys. And then this week on the track, I've had a couple people that I respect looking at horses tell me that they really like the way he's put together. That he's a really nice looking horse. They like how he moves over the ground. So even though he's kind of a question mark on paper and it kind of seems like he's second best, with some of the issues that Denon Bourbon's been having with the crowds and stuff, Wonder Dean's has looked a lot more calm to me on the racetrack. This could be one of those horses that floats way up. You might even get closer to 50 to 1 than 30 to 1 on him, that surprises, runs up for, I mean, not even necessarily hitting the super, but runs better than what people are going to expect. If he runs fourth, fifth, sixth, I wouldn't be shocked.
Let me add one thing real quick. Actually, you just kind of foreshadow what I was going to mention. We go back to the 2023 Derby. We had the three, or the 2024 Derby 150, the three horse photo. Everybody remembers where Forever Young lost the three horse photo at the wire. So that the Japanese were performed well that year. What we also forget though is one of the Japanese also ran the second tier Japanese horse that was in the Derby that year. TL Password ran a very good fifth. So Wonder Dean has that TL Password feel to him too. So maybe we shouldn't discount him simply because second tier Japanese horse could really boost some exotics, right?
Exactly.
Moving right along. Number 11, Incredibolt, the son of Bolt Doro. Impressive winner of the Virginia Derby. Uh, races for Pin Oak Stud, their second entry in the race. Riley Mott, once again, is the trainer. Jaime Torres, whichever you prefer, winner of the Preakness Stakes aboard Seize the Gray, has the mount. He's never had a different rider other than Jaime Torres. What say you, Alan?
I say we need to make mention of the fact that Team Mott, the Mott family, has 15% of this Derby field, with Bill Mott having one and Riley Mott, his son, having two. Incredible was a horse I was not overly impressed with last year. I just thought he was a decent 2-year-old. I've actually changed my opinion on that. He's actually a really good 3-year-old, and you always got to admit when you undersell something and you're not right. I was not right last year. I think he's a better horse than I thought he is. I thought his win in the Virginia Derby, going the weird 1-turn mile and an eighth at Colonial Downs, was a breathtaking final furlong. And the field wasn't that bad too. It was a full field, which you don't see a lot in Derby preps anymore. So I'm gonna give him all the love for that. It does seem like a big ask to pass him all here. This horse has a very bright future. Wouldn't surprise me if he ran well. I think I like him a little bit more than a lot of people do, but I can't get that last furlong out of my head. Of course, it's a different ball game going 1-turn to a 2-turn 10 furlong race like the Kentucky Derby, so that needs to be considered. But he does have a win over the racetrack going 2 turns, and I think it's a really good horse. He's going to have a very nice career. We'll see if it's good enough on this Saturday, but wouldn't stun me.
Yeah, has a win here, 2 turns. He's 2 for 2 total here, undefeated at Churchill. I did like the Virginia Derby. I thought it was impressive. I was totally out on this horse after the Holy Bull, guys. I saw no excuse for that performance. I was like, man, this was a pretty good 2-year-old that just he's kind of gone off form, but then he came back in that Virginia Derby and ran really well. He's going to have to get quite a bit faster to compete against the top ones in here, though, guys. And CC mentioned it earlier. You can't use them all. I don't really have any major knocks on Incredible other than I like others better. So I doubt I will be using him on my tickets, maybe smattered in the super, but definitely not heavily.
I like to add real quick along those lines. Actually, I forgot what I was going to say, but it was going to be a really, really good point.
I
He
will
is
say he's very well drawn. Both Jaime and Liz Morris were very pleased with the draw afterwards. 11 perfect for him. Nice mid-pack stalking trip. Should be able to stay out of trouble. So that is helpful, especially in a field like this. Clean trips are what finish well in the Derby.
Well, I remember I was going to say now, one thing we talk about his season debut was in that Holy Bull where he didn't run a step. It was just a throw-out effort, right? Fair enough. He rebounded nicely. That means he's only had one prep in a lot of ways this year, right? And it was the Virginia Derby, and that was 7 weeks ago. So there's a party that wonders if he's had enough conditioning because of the toss-out Holy Bull and then the 7 weeks from the Virginia Derby. As much as I think this horse has a bright future, I would say watch out Ohio Derby, West Virginia Derby, Oklahoma Derby. He's going to be a major player in those. If there's enough conditioning, enough bottom with that Holy Bull toss to get a mile and a quarter against this field.
Yeah, I'm a believer in the talent. I'm just not sure that Saturday's the day.
Yeah.
Number 12, Chief Wallaby from the Belmont Barn. Junior Alvarado in to ride. Of course, this duo won the Kentucky Derby last year with Sovereignty. Chief Wallaby owned by Mike and Catherine Ball. Of course, those are the Donnemeyer folks. If you're familiar at all with Kentucky racing, you'll recognize the black and white silks with the DM on the back. Going Straight, I believe, was their last Kentucky Derby starter, and that was in the early 70s. But they arrive again with Chief Wallaby, a serious contender in the Derby. Geoff?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier, I thought there was a chance the Puma could be shorter than Commandment, at least same price as Commandment. I'm pretty confident Chief Wallaby is going to be a shorter price than Commandment, even though he got beaten by him last time. He's a lightly raced horse, only 3 lifetime starts, improving, and was very close to Commandment last time. A lot of people are a fan, as you said, Bilmont, Junior Alvarado, trying to go back to back again. There are really not a whole lot of knocks on Chief Wallaby, other than the fact that he just hasn't beaten Commandment twice in a row. He's been right there, but we talked about what a gamer Commandment is and how he has that nose for the wire, and that's kind of why I lean him on the top end, and especially if we're talking about win price, just because I know a lot of people that really like Chief Wallaby. Like, there are a lot of handicappers I really respect who he is their top pick in this Kentucky Derby. So I think he's going to get a ton of play, at least on the win end. I'm not going to be able to bet him to win, but there's no way I'm leaving him off my tickets.
Yeah, I'm one of those guys who are in the Chief Wallaby camp, and I wasn't initially. One thing about him, right from the get go, he was heavily hyped, but the comparisons to Sovereignty. I don't think people have made the comparison to Sovereignty because it's Junior Alvarado, it's Bill Mott, but the way he's coming into this race is a lot like Sovereignty, where I think he ran out of ground in his second start, and was it the Fountain of Youth? He ran out of ground in the short stretch to get there to win the Fountain of Youth. That's what happened to Sovereignty last year against Tappan Street. And he's had 3 career races where, even in his debut, all triple-digit brisk net speed figs. That's pretty impressive for a horse making in all 3 of his career starts. I was concerned in the Florida Derby that he did idle between horses where he wouldn't pass. Those feelings have been allayed right now because of the way he's worked over the racetrack. I don't think Junior will make that mistake again to try to go between horses. He's kind of forced his hand. If we remember last year, Junior, who now knows how to win the Kentucky Derby, allowed journalism to go, and then he went outside with Sovereignty. I think he'll do the same thing with Chief Wallaby. He knows how to win the Derby. He knows the outside trip would be best for Chief Wallaby. I never like taking buzz horses and horses that are just get all the love in the weeks up to the Derby, but I feel like I'm doing the same thing a little bit. I do like him a lot with the addition of blinkers, the way he's looked on the racetrack, and it's kind of a buzz pick, but he's way up there for me at the moment.
Number 13 is Silent Tactic, runner-up in both of his last 2 starts, the Arkansas Derby behind Renegade And before that, a nose defeat to class president in the Rebel Stakes, trained by Mark Cassie, who seemingly won everything at Oaklawn over the winter. He's the trainer. Christian Torres earns his first Kentucky Derby mount. Silent Tactic, a son of Tacitus, 20-1 on the morning line. Alan.
If this race is a mile and 16th, I'd say he's one of the main competitors, right? He's got that very, very good turn of foot going that shorter two-turn distance, and then he just gets passed by a better horse. Like that's happened repeatedly at Oaklawn. He may be a horse for the course in Arkansas. I think he's a very nice horse who's going to bank a lot of money with his reliable run. But if Renegade went by him like he did in the Arkansas Derby, it's hard to think that the rest of them are not going to go by him or whatever. He's got that really powerful middle move. He's going to make a lot of money in his career, and maybe they figure out a way to wait on that move in the Kentucky Derby. Maybe it's successful, and you're cashing a big ticket at 25-1. But he feels more like the underneath type who, because there distance limitations, does he always find one better? But I mean, you got to give Christian Torres props for that cool ass porn mustache he's got going on. So that should lower his odds by a couple of points right there.
It's a very fair point, Alan. Very fair point. And he's one of those horses that just hasn't done anything wrong. He's been first or
No.
second in all 6 lifetime races. Hard to knock him, but if you just kind of look at his pattern, he took a nice step forward in the Southwest, and then since then he's just kind of been running the same race, it feels like. So we've talked about all these horses that have upside and can take another step forward. I have a little bit of a question if Silent Tactic has another step forward in him here on Saturday, when I think others definitely do, and he's going to have to step forward to compete with the best ones in here.
Okay, let's move on to the Bob Baffert trained Potente. Potente, ridden by Juan Hernandez, 20-1 on the morning line. Set the clockers abuzz, though, on Sunday with a big 57 and 4/5 second work, going 5 furlongs. Potente, a $2.4 million yearling purchase for the Speedway stables, comes in off a second place finish in the Santa Anita Derby behind So Happy. Just 3 starts under his belt, makes his 4th in the Derby. Potente, could he be a live long shot?
Yeah, that was the best work I've seen. Leading up to Derby, leading up to Oaks. There have been some nice works, horses that have impressed me. That's the one that impressed me the most. I know the track was really fast on Sunday, and so it made these times faster. But just the way he did it visually, he was moving so smoothly, so easily, pulled away from the workmate. Could not have been any more impressive visually in the work. And then what really impressed me was I was standing there on the rail on the backside, and he comes back from the work. It looked like he was getting ready to go work. He was full of energy. He wasn't breathing hard. He was wanting to go, and the rider was having to pull him up. So just he seems that he could not be doing any better coming into the Kentucky Derby. I know he only has 3 lifetime starts. He's lightly raced. But he's taken nice steps in each one of those races. And don't forget, this is that horse that when we had Beto Gomez on the show, exercise rider for Bob Baffert, we were talking to him about the 3-year-olds, and we mentioned like Brant and Barnes, and we're like, who you're excited about? He's like, yeah, they're pretty good horses, but we have this horse Potente who is unraced, who I'm really excited about, and he hasn't lied. He's lived up to it so far. It's a $2.4 million purchase, so he's got more living up to do. But this is one that if Saturday's not the day, I'm very confident he's going to be a really good horse down the line. But he's one that I'm using in every spot on my tickets in the Derby because he's going to be a price, and he's getting really good right now. And I don't think there's a horse going into the race any better than Potente is.
Yeah, I am not a workout expert. I will never claim to be, but I know what I saw the other day. That was an amazing work. It's the best that I saw. He wasn't on my radar that much before that work, and I don't want to automatically throw him into that heap right now simply because of that one work. Uh, that said, if he gets something out of San Diego, he did get passed pretty easily by So Happy in the San Diego Derby. But if he got something out of that race going a mile and 8, then there's no reason that he can't dish out 12s all the way around the racetrack and score at a mile and a quarter because Bob Baffert's done it so many times. I will say, I think Bob Baffert's prep record the last few years has been pretty bad. People he's been living on a bit of living on a bit of his legacy. But those are the prep races. Uh, this is the Kentucky Derby, which he knows how to win. So from that alone, taking him at 12-1, he has a Medina Spirit feel to him a little bit, right? I wouldn't blame anybody and stuff, but again, he wasn't on my radar, and that work there today was just amazing. So I don't blame anybody for taking him or even putting him on top of somebody that you like.
Yeah, you talked about the Santa Anita Derby. I didn't really dig into that too much, but I thought he had a tougher time of it than So Happy that day. I know So Happy did go right by him, but he had to battle on the lead. So Happy had the perfect setup, perfect trip. So I don't think turning the tables out of the question whatsoever, especially with a horse with this much upside.
Yeah, yeah, he's a contender now, and I didn't initially consider him a contender, but yeah, he's a contender.
Most trainers will give their horse 2 weeks, or excuse me, 2 works after a race 4 weeks before the Derby. So you'll skip a week, you'll skip a Saturday,
Yeah,
and then work the following Saturday, and then one more work before the Derby. Baffert, 10 days after the Santa Anita Derby, worked Potente 48-3 on April 14th. 6 days later, 6 furlongs, 113-1. And then another 6 days later, which was Sunday, he worked 57-4. Baffert's squeezing every last drop out of this horse to get him right for Kentucky Derby Day. I think this horse might be. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time. This horse might be the best of the generation here. So I'm going to use him on top on something, and I'll use him in pick fours, pick fives, or whatever. The question is, what are the odds?
Well, he's
I think
20 on the line. I think he might get a little play from there off the hype of that workout, but I still think he's going to be playable on the win end. I don't know. What do you think, 15?
I'd say 11 or 12-1. We got to take these Churchill Down morning lines with a grain of salt, but that's just me. So yeah, I think he's going to come down a little bit.
All right,
What do you think?
interesting to see. I think the horse has some potential. Another horse that has potential, number 15, Emerging Market, the son of Candy Ride, out of an Empire Maker mare, oodles and oodles of stamina for Chad Brown, Flavian Pratt, who has a stellar record in the Triple Crown races, although he's only won one, and that was by DQ. Emerging Market making just his third start for the Clairvitch Stables, last seen winning the Louisiana Derby in a hard-fought victory. 15, that's odd, so we'll go with Allen. I think you're the odd one, so.
That's in more ways than one, brother. In more ways than one. Uh, Emerging Market's a horse I like. He made only two career starts. He won the much ballyhooed maiden race at Tampa in his debut, and then he goes to the Louisiana Derby, that long mile and 316 stretch. Second career start and out games Pavlovian, who you're going to talk about here pretty soon, to win the Louisiana Derby in his second start. Now, we talk about he's only had two starts. How's it going to horse win the Kentucky Derby have just two starts? Well, a lot of the field only has three. So he made a really good Derby-esque move on the turn in Louisiana. Same like he did in Tampa. He kind of had to outgame Pavlovi down the stretch. It does worry me that he may have flattened a little bit in that last 16th, but he did have a right to learn. This horse has tremendous upside, tremendous upside. Chad, I think that the best interview I saw all Derby season was Caleb Benson's interview with Chad Brown, where he was kind of glowing about both Emerging Market and his Oaks counterpart, always a runner. And it seemed kind of un-Chad like. So he's very high on this horse. Again, it's a lot to ask in two starts, but I think he's a very playable price at 12, 13, 14-1. Like I said, I try to keep my win end high, win end type horses narrow. He's like a high B for me at this point. So again, but there is a concern, only two starts. And the Louisiana Derby does have that gap in time. So it's been 5-6 weeks since that race. I don't remember. I think it's 6 weeks. So ton of talent. He's one I want to use because I think he may get pseudo forgotten about a little bit on the board. We'll see.
I love Emerging Market, guys. I'm
Yeah.
heavily using this horse, especially in recent years, as you mentioned, Alan. I've held them having fewer starts against them, much less, just because that's become more of the norm, and horses have been successful doing that. Two starts is a little bit of a stretch, but I will say that this horse is not your normal 3-year-old going to the Derby with two starts. He's a very mature horse. He has a great mind on him. He knows where the wire is, and it's not like he had a ton of issues or he wasn't ready to get going earlier. He actually got pneumonia early on, and that's why he wasn't able to start as a 2-year-old or super early. And then after that, he was getting ready to start racing, and he had a minor stall accident where he got a laceration on his leg. So then that set him back a little bit as well. So the whole timeline got pushed back, but he's been physically ready to race for a while now. Going into the Louisiana Derby, I was extremely interested just because of how impressive his maiden win at Tampa was. That was very visually impressive. Got a good number for that. Going in the Louisiana Derby, seeing him on the backside, I thought it was interesting because he's not really one of the more physically imposing horses. As when you're talking about this grade one type of horse, you look at a lot of these that are beasts. I mean, I saw Great White out there on the track today, and you guys know my love for him, but that horse is just a monster. Emerging Market's not like that. He's more slightly built, but he's long and lean and athletic. Distance is zero issue whatsoever for this horse. So I know he's only got 2 starts, but I have no worries about him getting a mile and a quarter whatsoever. And I think his talent's off the charts. I think he's coming to the race really well. So if Commandment's my number one in here, Emerging Market's right there with him, number two.
Let me add something real quick. I will talk about this a lot. Sometimes, particularly at Derby season, people have a tendency to over handicap and over analyze and stuff like that. Sometimes you can just get very basic. Flavian Pratt rides a Kentucky Derby very well. Flavian Pratt rides everything well, but his record of hitting the trifecta and superfecta in Derby is unreal. I mean, he's there every year. And yes, he got kissed up into the Derby win with Country House, but he ran second on that horse at 60-1. So he has a way to get horses into the race early at a mile and a quarter. He knows how to get the mile and a quarter. So that simple fact alone, he's a must use if you're playing exotics, because Flavian Pratt always hits the superfecta, and he's probably got the horse underneath him too to get it done. So sometimes it's just as simple as that.
Okay. Yeah, emerging market. I think there's got to be something said for racing experience, though. I mean, I know less is more these days, but I've got to relegate this horse underneath until he proves that he can, until he can prove that he's not on the come, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? I just don't want to take a lower price on this horse in just his 3rd start. So I'll pass on emerging market, although I have ultra high respect for his connections. Number 16, Pavlovian, the most starts in the field. This will be his 11th start for Doug O'Neill. Edwin Maldonado takes the mount, run down by emerging market last time in that Louisiana Derby. 30-1 on the board, but he will be a pace factor, so it seems. Geoff.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of the anti-emerging market, right? He's got the most experience in the field. They were only a head away from each other in the Louisiana Derby last time. I will say Pavlovian is definitely a gamer. We talked about how Commandment likes to win races, likes a dogfight. Pavlovian loves himself a dogfight. You just look at all of his races, and whatever horse is closest to him near the wire, he's wanting to stick the nose in front of. So that there's something to be said for that. That was the best race he's ever run in the Louisiana Derby too. So even though he does have 10 starts, he could still be improving. If he can take
Yes.
another step forward off of that race, he's a big threat, and he's one that I think is going to be totally forgotten about. Honestly, I haven't heard anybody really talking about him as one of their major contenders. So I think he's going to be a big price that could easily hit the board at a long price that would surprise some people. And if I'm playing tries and supers, I'm going to use him on the bottom side. I'm not using him on the top of anything, probably not in second either. I think he's just a slight step below some of the top ones in here, but would not surprise me whatsoever if he blows up the tote board in fourth or something like that.
I feel silly about this because I do like emerging market. And if I like emerging market, how can I not like Pavlovian a little bit? Because he was just a head shy of him in the Louisiana Derby. But again, very seasoned. Again, 10 star. We talk about all these horses in this race that don't have only have 2 or 3 starts. Hell, he's got double digits. So hats off to him. And people have a tendency to forget they talk about Bob Baffert and the Kentucky. Doug O'Neill's won 2 Kentucky Derbies. I think it's one of the more underrated stats out there and such. So he knows how to get it done. Is Pavlovian for me? No, but again, I like the horse that he who barely beat him the other time in the last race. So maybe that's on me. We'll see. But you're right. He is a gamer.
He's not for me. He'd have to improve to win, and he's had a lot of chances to improve to get to this level. and he hasn't done it yet. So I'm passing on Pavlovian. Plus, he's been a bit of a bad gate horse in his career, although he's done well in his last 2 starts. If he misses the break here, it's all over. So I'm out on Pavlovian. Number 17 is 6 Speed from the Middle East, but he's got American connections. They bought him privately. Last seen finishing second to Wonder Dean in the UAE Derby. Brian Hernandez Jr. will take the mount for the very first time. Of course, winner of the 2024 Derby on Mystic Dan. 6 Speed, probably the one that's going to be on the lead early. Alan, any love for 6 Speed?
Not really. I mean, I like Brian Hernandez. He's one of my favorites. There's no question. So I'm glad he got a Derby mount. I mean, the guy won the Derby a couple years ago. It's amazing. He didn't have a mount before one on 6 Speed opened up. He is a likely pace setter. I'm sure they're going to gun it and get that thrill of having their horse in front in the Kentucky Derby. That's got to be an amazing feeling. And I've heard from people that I trust that he may last longer than you give him credit for. He may turn for home still in front. So we'll see what happens. But particularly Brian on who does an amazing job of rating a racehorse on the front end. But I mean, is he for me? No. But I think if Brian got another one, I'd be happy.
Yeah, as you said, Brian's one of those Derby riders. He rides the Derby very well. They're definitely gunning 6 Speed. I saw a quote the other day. I don't remember who got the quote, but they basically said, if they go fast, we're going faster. So they are gunning for the lead. That is what they think that their chance is interesting. Yeah, he's a Kentucky bred. You're talking about coming from overseas, UAE, but son of not this time. It's been interesting on the track. He is incredibly high strung, it seems like. Like, how they have that special window for the Derby and Oaks workers, and he'll come out to the gap and wait to get onto the track. And, most of the horses come out there and they just kind of wait. They might have a pony next to them, but they just kind of look around, take it all in. 6 Speed, they have to continually be putting him in circles, figure eights, put a pony next to him for a couple minutes, take the pony away from him for a couple minutes. He's just kind of, he's tapping his feet, and he seems kind of anxious. And that was happening even before the crowd showed up. So in my opinion, I'm very worried about what happens when the crowds get huge as well. So that on top of the questions I already had about him, that's my long way of saying I'm not going to use him on any of my tickets.
Don't like him. I'm not using him. Number 18, Further Ado. I think we probably all agree this horse may be the favorite when it's all said and done. Winner of the Bluegrass Stakes by 11 lengths. John Velasquez takes the mount. This will be his first ride on the horse. Already a multiple-time winner of this Kentucky Derby. Is this just a Keeneland horse? His 2 combined victories at Keeneland tallied 31 lengths, I believe. But man, he's looking really good in the mornings, Geoff.
Yeah, he's training with energy. He looks great out on the track. Looks like, kind of the concern with him is he going to bounce off that huge effort? I think his Bluegrass win was, I think everybody would agree, was by far the most impressive prep that we've had coming into the Derby. Is the fastest on every number I've looked at. I think he's run the fastest of any horse in the race. So I think he will be the favorite, especially with how he's coming into the race, the energy he's showing on the track. I do think there's something to the Keeneland thing. I don't know that he's only a Keeneland horse. I think he's best at Keeneland. He seems to be getting over the Churchill ground pretty well. He does have a win at Churchill. I remember that was on the Stars of Tomorrow 2 card when I was on air that day with Tony Kalo, that he got that win in the Kentucky Jockey Club. I thought that performance was okay, but I remember coming away from it thinking he was going to really pull away from that field and just hammer him. And I left wanting a little bit more. So on the horse that I do believe is going to be favored at 3-1, 7-2, somewhere in that range, that's kind of what I'm expecting. I mean, I could be wrong on that because I feel like that might be a short price in this kind of field, but I just think there's a lot of hype around him. I think it seems like he's coming into the race well, and just that Bluegrass was so impressive, guys. It's hard to poke any holes in him other than the price for me. So that's kind of the hole I am going to poke in him. I'm not throwing him off all my tickets, but I'm probably not going to use him heavily in the top spot.
I hate the phrase take, but I have a lot of takes on Further Ado here, so bear with me, folks. First off, I will go with the negatives that are legit. They're legit concerns. Number one, the Bluegrass was essentially a walkover because there were two contenders in that race outside of Further Ado. That was Cherie DeVos' horse, whose name is Reagan's Honor,
Reagan's Honor,
and
yeah.
Great White. Reagan's Honor did not run a step, and Great White,
Reportedly bled in that race,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
Great White inexplicably bled, didn't bleed, but just went to the lead and was done. It was toast.
Mhm.
So that left it as almost because the rest of the field was not good at all. So that was a walkover. So he got a great trip. He essentially won as he pleased. So that's a legit concern. The other legit concern is the fact that he likes to be up fairly close in that stalker mentality, right? And in the Derby, you always have to worry about horses who like to lay close in that stalking spot. If the pace is too fast or anything happens and they get all of a sudden shuffled back to ninth, 10th, 11th, 8, 9 lengths off the lead, they're either A game and then they don't run a step. Those are two legit concerns. This is not usually the way I play. If I have concerns like that about a horse, particularly at a shorter type price, I usually will shy away from it. I like Further Ado. All that said, I like Further Ado. I think he's gonna be favored. I think he's more like in the 5-1 range. That's my 9-2, 5-1 range. Because what I do like is number one, Brad Cox has been on fire of late, and he seems fairly confident. The horse is getting over the track very well, and Brad Cox is. It's almost like he was his program is titled to peak in April and May with all his horses, not just his 3-year-olds, but his other horses. And when he added John Velasquez, I thought he did a great job of getting the right rider for this horse because Johnny V has won 4 derbies. He's finished in front of the Derby 4 times. He'll get this horse up close in the spot that he wants to be, and he knows how to get the job done. He knows how this horse best wants to be ridden. If he gets out of the gate, he's going to be tough. Now there is the problem that, as we alluded to earlier, that maybe he hasn't beaten a good horse of late. That said, I think with him, it's not so much the Keeneland thing. Is his 20 length win at Keeneland last year was his third off the layoff, was his third career start. Maybe that's what it was, not so much Keeneland. This year, he freaked at Keeneland in his second start. This is his third off the layoff this year. This is his third start of the year. Maybe we haven't seen the best of him just yet. Maybe that's the key to him. So he's looked great on the racetrack. I like him. That said, he could be a fierceness type who I didn't like, and it would not surprise me if he ran 14th. Usually these are kind of like to stay away from, but I think he could be that good. We'll see. So that's my long spiel on Further Ado. Negatives and
I will,
positives. So
yeah, I will say if there's a horse that's going to win this Derby by open lengths, 6, 7 lengths, Further Ado is hands down that horse.
but
He
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 also
definitely has the highest ceiling, in my opinion, and I know that CC does like him, so I can't wait to hear what CC has to say.
I would also, before we get to CC, I would also not surprise me. Like you said, he might be the horse most likely to win by open lengths. He also might be among the favorites most likely to run 14th. Is that fair? Yeah.
It's fair.
Shoot, CC.
All right. So last year, I thought Sovereignty was a clear winner on Thoroughgraph. I love Thoroughgraph in the Derby. I just think it's a great tool to predict how horses are going to improve or just how they're going to run in general in the race. So on Thoroughgraph, Further Ado earned a -1, a -1, winning that maiden race at Keeneland. So as a young horse, that's hard on a horse. What was it? 6 weeks later, he bounced to a 5, or a 4 or 5. I haven't seen the sheets yet. I've kind of pieced them together as I'm
And
going.
still won, right?
He still won. He regressed though, but he comes back. Apparently, he was kind of rushed into that Tampa Bay Derby and ran a fine race. I mean, obviously, the horse that beat him was the Puma, who went on to win or almost win the Florida Derby by just beating the nose. And then the horse to his inside, Canaletto's got a bright future for Chad Brown as well, but he was injured. So he runs okay in that Tampa Bay Derby. Then comes to Keeneland, improves on his 2-year-old figure of a -2, a -2, I think. Like I said, I haven't seen the final figs yet. They're not out yet. I'm going on what I've pieced together. But so you're going to look at it one of two ways. Either we have a proven history that the horse will bounce like he did as a 2-year-old, but there's also the chance that he pairs up or even improves, because his 2-year-old, a Thoroughgraph Tenant is a horse that has a fast 2-year-old figure that runs a big 3-year-old figure, but there's not that much difference. I'm doing a horrible job explaining that, but there was only 1 point difference between his 2-year-old best and his 3-year-old best. That's usually a good sign. That's the bottom line. It was a good sign that he ran so well in the Bluegrass. So, I mean, you could put the odds at 50-50 that he's going to bounce and run poorly, or he runs that -2 again or improves. So if he runs a -2, he's the winner. So I would take 7-2 or 4-1 that he will run that again. I mean, I did the same thing with Fierceness and it blew up my face. So maybe the other half of the coin comes in this time. So yeah, Further Ado will be my choice. I also thought he drew well. I mean, 18 is not necessarily my number one choice, but he draws outside of Pavlovian and 6-speed, who both want to be forwardly placed. He can just follow those two over and maybe not be any more than 3 wide going into that first turn. So, and furthermore, he's working like a horse that's not knocked out by that big figure in the Bluegrass.
Yes.
And the clockers love him. So I think Further Ado will be my top choice in this year's Derby. But I hate the price.
Yeah. One last thing there, and I hate to do this too, but I mean, because it could blow up in my face. I could see a little Barbaro in him. Maybe I could see the trip Barbaro got, and maybe the way, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I can see it, and I think I told you guys that at Mike Lennings or whatever. So could be completely wrong. Again, he could be Fierceness Redux, but he intrigues me.
Well, that's a good point you made, CC, when you were like, at that 3-1, 7-2, 4-1 range. If you think it's like a 50-50 shot that he's going to run that -2 and just blow him out of the water, 4-1 is a great price to figure that out, because you're thinking it's even money that he's going to do it, right?
Right. All right. Moving right along. Number 19, Golden Tempo, a son of Curlin. My goodness, what a pedigree this is. I mean, you go back 5 generations of Phipps family breeding. I mean, this is, you go back to horses like Dancing Forever, Breeders' Cup Sprint winner. I mean, just everything is in this pedigree. And he's a son of son of Curlin. Cherie DeVoe trains Jose Ortiz in the irons. Just 4 starts, and last seen a closing third in that Louisiana Derby. Alan, guys interested, your thoughts on Golden Tempo?
Oh, of course. I like him. He's legit. He's going to be a price. I think he'll probably come down a little bit. People aren't going to let him get off at 30-1. He could pass them all. Again, you can't play everybody. He's one of that in that second tier of horses who rates a big chance if things go properly for him. He's got another huge closer to his outside in full effort, but wouldn't surprise me at all. Cherise does a great job. This horse is a lot of the talk down in Louisiana, and ran a bang up Louisiana Derby against Emerging Market. So wouldn't surprise me. I'm sure Geoff has even more thoughts about the horse.
Yeah, I've been a Golden Tempo fan, following Fairgrounds. I think he's got a ton of talent, lightly raced, only 4 career starts. I like his consistent progression. I talk about this a lot when we talk about handicapping, especially these younger horses, that you don't necessarily love to see those big jumps into the huge figure, but if they just improve a little bit each time with each one of their starts, improve a little bit, it seems like he's really coming into his own too. Those last 2 works at Keeneland were really, really good. They look good on paper, and at least especially that work on the 17th I watched, and visually incredibly impressive. Did it very easily on his own, was second fastest that day, and galloped out really strongly through some traffic ahead of him too. So I think he's feeling really good. Talked to Cherie DeVoe this morning actually, and she said he's going to have to improve to beat the top ones in here. Obviously, you can see that on numbers, but she said that he's got it in him. That was the quote from her, is that he's got it in him. So she is confident in the talent of Golden Tempo, as am I. I think he's more likely to hit the board than on the win end, but when you're talking 20+1, that's a horse that you would love to have on your tickets. That's it for me.
Okay, all right, good deal. All right, yeah, I'm using this horse underneath. I like him. I mean, I think he's improving. He's a little slow. but this horse is going to be running through the wire at the end. So yeah, give me 25 to 1 on him to fill out my tries and supers. I think this horse has got a shot to get part with, and he's going to get a good ride with Jose Ortiz. So yeah, I feel confident that this horse will be running at the end. Okay, number 20, Full Effort, winner of the Geoff Ruby Stakes last time. Brad Cox, trainee, Tyler Gaffleon. Yeah, Full Effort, making his 8th lifetime start, and a horse that has never raced on dirt. Let's go to Geoff.
You guys know I've been a fan of Full Effort, watched him at Turfway past few races. I thought the Geoff Ruby was very impressive. I expected him to do that. I was confident in him in that group, and he got the job done. I thought he's looked good on the dirt too, guys, just training over the track. He's kind of been the forgotten Brad Cox horse just because his other two are, two of the favorites, and they should be two of the favorites, but I think his pattern's good. He got a 94 buyer for the Geoff Ruby Stakes, which is right there. If he can take another step forward on that, I think it fits really well. I liked how he galloped out in the Geoff Ruby as well. So I don't love the 20 post for him. I know he's a closer. Hopefully he can get down and tuck in, but I'd kind of rather him be more inside to where he could just drop back and save ground rather than have to wait and see what happens because horses have bad breaks, horses get squeezed back. He could still easily be 7, 8 wide going into the first turn, even if he's trying to drop back and save ground. So I'm a little bit concerned about the draw, but he's going to be a huge price, and I'm somewhat interested in using him underneath. I know Alan, you've been a fan of him. You've been making the Final Gambit comparisons with this horse, so tell us more about Full Effort.
Yeah, he's the more accomplished version of Final Gambit. When Final Gambit came into the Geoff Ruby last year, he was just a maiden winner, but it's the way he broke his maiden that was so impressive. So there's more stakes credentials under Full Effort, even though he too is a Geoff Ruby winner. Man, he looked good in the Geoff Ruby. He's coming. The thing about him is he's improving rapidly. If you look at his figures this year, they're shooting up quickly. Probably more so than a lot of the other horses in the race. I think Brad Cox likes him. He looks like he's handling the dirt well. So, and I think one of the most overlooked things about Kentucky Derby from last year, 151, is Final Gambit ran fourth. Everybody knows that. He ran fourth behind 3 horses everybody loves in Sovereignty, Journalism, and Baeza. He was only 3 lengths behind those horses. So it wouldn't surprise me if Full Effort puts in a big run, especially with Tyler Gaffleon. I like the use of Tyler. Is he at the top of my list? Of course not. But I'm pulling for the horse because he's a Turfway horse, and I'm partial to Turfway. So I'd like to see him run well. It wouldn't surprise me if he does. And I think Brad kind of sneakily likes the horse too. A lot to ask overcoming the 20 hole and a lot of good horses in this race, but absolutely is not without a chance at that 20, 25 to 1 range.
We've seen over and over again that the 20 hole really doesn't make any difference to a closer. So I'm like you. I think this is a Final Gambit redux, but I think this horse may be better than Final Gambit. We were led to believe all along this horse doesn't train well on dirt, but he's done the exact opposite ever since he got to Churchill. So Full Effort will be on all my tickets, and I may have a few where he's on top. So I'm using Full Effort for sure. All right, let's get to the also eligibles real quick. I don't like any of them, but we're going to mention them just to say we did. There's probably a good chance that somebody's going to get scratched.
Yeah.
So number 21, Great White, will draw into the field. Alan, will throw it to you. Great White, terrible in the bluegrass. Before that, he did beat our horse Full Effort in the John Battaglia Memorial.
The thing about Great White is, I'll make a case for him. Of course, Jeff's very high on the horse, and he's a physical specimen. I think he's an elephant in a horse's clothing. Maybe he shouldn't have went to the front in the bluegrass, or maybe he went to the front and Further Ado broke. Maybe Further Ado is just that good, and he broke him. He broke his spirit. Those. If you're trying to find reasons to play him, he's also cross entered in the Pat Day Mile. I'm not sure which one he fits better. And if he got into the Derby at 75 to 1, would I have a little something on him? Yeah, because we've talked about him for so long or whatever. If you're willing to forgive the bluegrass, why not? Right, Geoff?
Exactly, and there is an excuse there. He just doesn't want to be on the lead. He doesn't run well on the lead. John Ennis has said as much. He's like that. That's the key. That's what happened in the bluegrass. He got on the lead. He got lost out there. That's just not where he does his best running. He needs a target. He does have that sneaky speed. I think he could be somewhat forwardly placed if he does get into the Derby field, but I don't think there's any way he's going to be on the lead. So, being far outside, it's tough to get a good trip from there. It's tough to endorse him on top, but guys, you know my love for this horse. I've loved this horse since before his debut. When I first saw him work, I saw him on video and I was like, who is that? He might be the most striking individual horse I've ever seen in my life in person. I was out there at the barn this morning, got to see him up close and personal. He was getting a bath after galloping this morning, and it's just like it takes you aback being close to him, just being around horses and then being around this horse. He's 17.2 hands and 1,400 pounds. It's just like these racehorses are not that big, but he's an athlete, you know? It's not like he's just a big old horse. Like he's so athletic too. He's got so much potential in him. This is a huge ask, obviously. If he gets into the Derby, this is a huge ask and start number five. I'm sure he's still got more maturing to do. He's still improving. I'm totally throwing out the bluegrass. I thought the Battaglia was awesome when he did beat full effort. I thought that was a great effort. He galloped out huge again that day. So if you can just draw a line through the bluegrass, take another step forward from the Battaglia, I don't think it's enough to win a race like the Kentucky Derby. I'll be honest with you, but I do think that he's going to run a lot better than people will give him credit for, and I think he's going to be totally ignored if he does get in off the also eligible list.
Wouldn't the comparison to Rich Strike be then too? Is like you'd have a horse with the number 21
Yes,
saddlecloth coming from Turfway, who's going to be about 75, 80 to 1. The comparisons would be there, right? So
absolutely. It's going to be coming late. Should get a good trip, I would think.
Number 22, Ocelli. Last seen third in the Wood Memorial for Whit Beckman. Joe Ramos would take the mount, and this horse is still a maiden. So I think he's they were going to enter him on a undercard race, but I think they can't do that. So it's all or nothing for the Derby, I believe.
Ocelli is, if anybody follows Ocelli's trajectory throughout this Derby season, it's like obvious these owners want to get into the Derby. They have entered him in every stake, trying to get points, and he finished just a nose shy of getting those necessary points in the Wood Memorial. So that nose cost him a spot in the Derby field, but he could still get in. It would be a tall ask. A horse I know we're fond of it. This probably isn't the spot, but the connections are definitely trying to get him into the Kentucky Derby. We'll see if it happens.
Yeah, I know he's burned a hole in both Alan and I's wallets over these past few races. I know we've both been a big fan of his talent, and I know the connections like him as well. Been maybe a little bit unlucky early on in his career, still a maiden 0 for 6. He's run some good races, and he's shown flashes of ability. As you said, Alan, very, very tough task if he does draw into the field. One I'm interested in more moving forward than on Saturday.
Number 23, Robusta for Calumet Farm, Doug O'Neill, Amicio Jaramillo in the irons. Last seen a stumble at the start cost him anything in the Santa Anita Derby. He finished far back. Prior to that, though, he was beaten ahead by Potente in the San Felipe. Geoff.
Yeah, I thought the San Felipe was really good behind Potente. I thought he ran well in there. Thought he was a nice prospect moving forward. Did have that little bit of an excuse in the Santa Anita Derby, although didn't really do any running late. Kind of rushed up early and then tired badly. I don't know what kind of trip he would get from the far outside. I'm a little concerned about that, and just the fact he would have to get a lot faster too. So I don't see me using him on my tickets either.
It would take a lot for him to get in. So I'm just, yeah, he's not for me. So it would take a lot to happen this week. Although that could happen the way the scratches are going these days. So it would take a lot for him to make the field.
24, Corona de Oro, a surprise entrant. Dallas Stewart has pulled some shockers before. I'm thinking of, was it Commanding Curve? Ran
Yeah.
second to California Chrome. Golden something
Golden
ran
Soul.
second
Golden
to
Soul.
Tale of Akati, or Tale of Verb ran second to American Pharaoh at 1,000,000 to 1. This is a stretch on this one.
Yeah, didn't he set the pace in the Lexington? Was it
The
which
Lexington,
was
yeah.
a really bad prep. With a couple of Brad Cox horses, just seeing if they were any good or whatever. So yeah, again, it would take a lot for him to get in, but I mean, he would be triple digits even in this day and age. I think he'd be triple digits on the board.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't like the Lexington at all. I didn't really see an excuse for it, honestly. I will say if you can draw a line through that, his last two maiden races at Fairgrounds were very good. His maiden breaker two back, he won by 4.5, was going away, galloped out really well, and took a nice step forward off of his second the time before that, which was another good race. Got a 92 buyer in that maiden race. So he looked like a horse that was really knocking on the door, and then just threw in that puzzler there in the Lexington. I don't really know what to do with it. If he does draw in, he's going to be on the far outside, and he's going to have a lot of hurdles to overcome. And you know all the horses we like in this field, so he's not going to make my ticket. But it's a horse that if you can forgive that Lexington, I do think he could still have a bright future, though.
All right, that's it. That's all 24. Now it's Final Jeopardy. We're going to go around the table. I want top pick and horses you want to use underneath. We'll start with Alan.
All right. Well, it's this simple. I'm not going to go through all the horses I'd use underneath or whatever. I just want to keep it narrow. I don't usually go by A, B's, and C's and such, but I'll go with this one. My A would be Further Ado. My A minus would be Chief Wallaby. My B plus would be Emerging Market. So it's going to be. So I'm going Further Ado uh, with Chief Wallaby and Emerging Market. Very close horse behind. Of course, there's other ones I like to hit the exotics, but that's going to be the focal point of my ticket. Those three horses with Further Ado on top.
Yeah, I get that for sure. We talked about this being the derby of the haves and the have-nots, kind of. So there are a few that I like somewhat similarly, but the more I've gotten closer to the day, the more I've really liked Commandment. He's done nothing wrong. I love that he has that heart of a champion. I don't have any distance concerns whatsoever with him. I think he's such a derby horse. He drew well.
Yeah.
It just seems like stars are kind of aligning for him, and he's doing it under the radar. As we mentioned before, it just seems like of those favorites, he's the one that's getting the least amount of buzz. I'm hoping to get some float in that win pool. If I get around that 8-1 range, I would be ecstatic to make a nice size win bet on Commandment. Underneath him, I will be using Emerging Market. We talked about the upside of him, how he's mature beyond his races, and how he's coming to the race well. Potente with that huge work, also another one with a lot of upside, and I just think Bob's got this one. He's cranking him up. I don't know if he's going to make it in time. I think he's an eventual star, 100%. Is it going to be Saturday? I hope so at the price, because if he wins at the price, I think he's going to be. It'll probably be a really good day for me. But I just believe in the talent. I think Potente is a really nice horse who's doing really well. Renegade, there's no way I'm leaving off my tickets. The one hole and the questions that we talked about concerned me a little bit. Moved him down to fourth on my list, but can't leave him off of anything. And then Golden Tempo is my big price shot that I'm going to be using in just about every spot that I'm going to hopefully spice up the exotics with him running late.
Commandment has a Derby name, a Derby winner's name too, doesn't he?
hmm I like those classy one name horses, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. All right. Finally, my selections, of course, as I mentioned, Further Ado on top. Also rans, horses I'll use probably around Further Ado would be Commandment, Potente, and Full Effort. And Golden Tempo is a horse I would key underneath in third and fourth in the exotics. All right. That's it. Thank you, guys. It's always a marathon, but we enjoy doing this. Tell us who you like in the comments below. Good luck in the Kentucky Derby. Good luck all weekend. Hope everybody has a fun and safe weekend. And that's about it. You guys take the night off, and we'll see you whenever. But until then, on behalf of Value Man, Alan Schneider, the Bearded Wonder, Geoff Riggs, I'm CC Broaddus. Happy Derby, everybody.